Even if you've never seen the 1941 film, The Wolfman, you probably know what it takes to kill a werewolf. A silver bullet. That's because the Wolfman did for werewolves what Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula did for vampires. It set the rules for how werewolves are supposed to behave. It's hard to pin down the world's first reference to werewolves. One of the oldest known written works on the planet, the Epic of Gilgamesh, is a likely candidate. In it, Gilgamesh refuses to become the lover of the goddess Ishtar because of her cruel treatment of her previous suitors. Ishtar turned one man, a shepherd, into a wolf, making him the enemy of his friends, his sheep, and even his own dogs. Ishtar isn't the only ancient god to change a mortal into a wolf. In Ovid's The Metamorphoses, a traveler visits the home of King Lycaon of Acadia. Lycaon suspects that the visitor is immortal, so he devises a test. He serves human meat to his guest, who unfortunately turns out to be the god Jupiter. Jupiter immediately recognizes the meat's origin, and he transforms Lycaon into a wolf. Lycaon's name and the word lycanthropy both come from the same root, the Greek word lykos, meaning wolf. Both of these works are ancient, and they suggest the idea of men turning into wolves has been around for about as long as human civilization has. In the earliest literary mentions of werewolves, gods use lycanthropy as punishment. The idea of werewolves as punished men is also part of a number of folk tales, although gods aren't always part of the story. Sometimes, however, someone simply becomes a werewolf as a result of bad behavior, or someone whose behavior is bad turns out to be a werewolf. But in other folk tales, becoming a werewolf isn't a punishment. It's a gift and a source of power. Stories describe articles of clothing like belts or straps that allow the wearer to become a werewolf. This has a number of perks, including a pantry perpetually stocked with chickens and wild game. In several German versions of this story, the belt is made from the skin of a wolf. If the belt is destroyed, the ability to transform disappears as well. In depictions like these, the transformation from human to wolf is voluntary. It doesn't depend on the phase of the moon. A man can change from human to wolf and back again whenever he likes, as long as he has the right clothing. In modern depictions, lycanthropy is often transmitted by the bite of a werewolf, but there are exceptions. In Terry Pratchett's Discworld novels, for example, werewolves are a race, much like dwarves or trolls. Pratchett's werewolves can change from human to wolf at any time. Some choose to spend most of their time in wolf form, while others change whenever it suits them. As with vampires, there's also a sexual element to werewolves. While vampires tend to be smooth and sexually charged, the typical werewolf is hyper-masculine. He is exceptionally muscular, exceptionally hairy, and exceptionally violent. This connection to rough or coarse behavior also ties in to modern psychology. In psychological terms, you might think of a person's struggle with lycanthropy as a struggle to come to terms with or get rid of his more primitive nature. When a man becomes a werewolf, his primal instincts, which aren't necessarily considered to be appropriate, take over. There are natural parallels between lycanthropy and puberty. During puberty, the human body changes dramatically. These changes can seem foreign, and they're definitely beyond a young person's control. Similarly, in some depictions, lycanthropy is a metaphor for menstruation. A woman's body changes according to a regular monthly cycle. In a lot of ways, these changes define who she is. Menstruation is a hallmark of being a woman, and a physical transformation is the hallmark of being a werewolf. Most people have heard of the witch hunts of the 16th century. Less well known are the werewolf hunts that happened in the same time period. A common belief was that werewolves turned their skin inside out to return to human form, so one interrogation practice involved cutting and pulling back a person's skin to see if there was fur underneath. There are several notable claims of lycanthropy that took place during these werewolf hunts. In 1573, an alleged werewolf, Giles Garnier, was burned at the stake. In 1589, a man known as Peter Stubb was executed near Cologne, Germany, for cannibalism and multiple murders. He claimed that he had a belt that allowed him to become a werewolf. In 1603, a young man named Jean Grenier claimed responsibility for a series of murders and disappearances, saying he had a skin that let him become a wolf. A court determined that Grenier was insane and confined him to a monastery. In industrialized parts of the world, the idea of werewolves, or of wolves in general, can seem distant and archaic. Perhaps that's why many more recent depictions present lycanthropy as a manageable condition. Werewolves are just ordinary people with a keen sense of smell who happen to be unpleasant to be around for a few days each month. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that subscribe button and activate push notifications. Want to join the Macabre community? Slide on over to my Facebook page. And to witness my day-to-day life, check out my Instagram. Links are in the description. And as always, one person's insanity is another person's normal. It's up to you to decide which is yours.